Imagine for a moment someone you care about, someone whose heart feels distant, whose walls feel impenetrable. You want to reach them. You want them to feel safe enough to let you in. And right now, you may feel frustrated, like no matter what you do, they remain closed. But here's the truth. The key isn't force. It's not chasing. It's not convincing. It's something far more powerful, something that resonates deep in the human soul. And when you understand this, you don't just touch their heart, you awaken it. The first principle is presence. Be there, not just physically, but emotionally, without expectation, without judgment. Just being consistent day after day shows them a rhythm, a stability they've never dared to trust. Walls are not built in a day. They are bricks of past fears, but bricks crumble under the weight of unwavering consistency. Second, respect their space. This may feel counterintuitive. You want them closer, but pushing will only reinforce the walls. Give them freedom, honor their autonomy, and stand as a calm, steady force. Paradoxically, this very respect signals safety, and safety is the first whisper of love they are ready to hear. Third, listen deeply. Don't listen to respond. Don't listen to fix. Listen to understand. Every person who has built walls carries stories, wounds, and fears. When they feel genuinely heard, something miraculous happens. Their armor begins to soften, and their heart whispers, "Maybe I can trust you." Fourth, show your vulnerability without expectation. Share your fears, your dreams, your authentic self. Do it not to break them down, but to illuminate a path that they can follow if they choose. Vulnerability is magnetic. It creates a space where closeness becomes possible, where walls no longer feel like protection but unnecessary weight. Finally, celebrate every step they take toward connection. Avoidants measure closeness with caution. Honor every small gesture, every inch of their courage. When they see that their efforts are recognized and cherished, they begin to associate openness with reward, safety, and love, not danger. So, here's the truth that can transform your life and theirs. Connection is not about tearing down walls with force. It is about being the steady sun that melts the ice brick by brick, moment by moment. Be patient, be consistent, be vulnerable, and above all, embody the unwavering presence of someone who sees them, truly sees them, and still chooses to stay. When you do this, when you live these principles with intentionality and heart, the walls that seemed unbreakable will start to crumble, and in that moment, you don't just touch their heart, you ignite it. Because love, at its purest, doesn't demand, it demonstrates. And it endures. Consistency is more than just showing up. It is the invisible force that builds trust where words alone fail. An avoidant person has learned, often through experience, that promises are fragile, that intentions are easy to give but hard to keep. They have seen people leave when they needed them most, or heard words of love spoken without follow-through. That history creates a natural instinct to protect themselves by keeping distance, by building walls around their heart. And here is where consistency becomes transformative. It communicates reliability in a way words can never match. When you consistently show up, when your actions align with your intentions, you are sending a quiet but undeniable message. You are safe with me. I am here. I will not abandon you. Consistency is about rhythm and presence. It's the small, repeated actions that speak volumes, the text you send just to check in, the call you make when they need it, the smile you offer even when they seem closed off. It is not about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It is about creating a dependable pattern in their life. Over time, this pattern begins to rewrite their expectations. They start to notice that, unlike past experiences, your presence is unwavering. This repetition chips away at the skepticism that fuels avoidance, replacing fear with a quiet sense of security. Moreover, consistency creates a sense of predictability in an unpredictable world. For someone with avoidant tendencies, unpredictability triggers anxiety. They've learned that emotional closeness can feel like a threat because it is uncertain, but when your actions are consistent, they begin to anticipate safety rather than fear betrayal. This anticipation reduces their instinct to retreat and opens a pathway for connection. They learn that closeness does not always equal danger, that not every act of vulnerability will be met with withdrawal. Consistency is also an act of respect. By showing up in small, reliable ways, you communicate that their presence matters, that their boundaries are honored, and that you are committed to being part of their life without overwhelming them. It is a demonstration of love that doesn't demand anything in return, a patient force that allows them to meet you halfway at their own pace. It is important to note that consistency must be genuine and aligned with integrity. Empty repetition, performed out of obligation or manipulation, is transparent to someone who is avoidant. They sense inauthenticity instantly, and it reinforces their walls rather than melts them. True consistency arises from a place of authentic care, a deliberate choice to be reliable and present, even when it feels inconvenient or challenging. Through unwavering, consistent actions, you create a bridge over their fears. You transform uncertainty into trust and skepticism into comfort. And in this transformation, the avoidant heart, once hesitant and guarded, begins to soften. It is not a dramatic breakthrough, but a gradual, undeniable shift that sets the stage for deeper intimacy. One day, one moment at a time. Respecting someone's space is not passive. It is a deliberate, conscious practice that communicates trust, understanding, and patience. For an avoidant person, emotional closeness often triggers a deep-seated fear of losing autonomy, being suffocated, or being engulfed. Their walls are not built to punish, but to protect themselves from a world that has felt overwhelming, intrusive, or unpredictable. When you approach them with force, with demands for connection or immediate intimacy, you reinforce their instinct to retreat. But when you respect their space while remaining present, you demonstrate a different reality, a reality in which closeness does not equal pressure, and love does not equal constraint. This is the paradox that transforms avoidance into openness. Being present while giving space is about balance. It requires the patience to stand nearby without hovering, to be available without intruding. It's the difference between saying, "I'm here if you want me," and crowding them with questions, demands, or expectations. Presence without pressure creates a sense of safety because it allows them to engage with you on their own terms. They begin to realize that being close does not mean losing themselves, and that your commitment to them is not contingent upon how fast or how much they open up. Respecting space also involves honoring boundaries that may feel arbitrary or frustrating. An avoidant person may retreat for reasons that seem small or mysterious to others, but these retreats are their way of managing overwhelm and protecting their emotional equilibrium. When you respect these boundaries without resentment, you validate their experience. This validation sends a powerful message. I see you. I understand your needs. You are allowed to have them, and I will not punish you for them. That acknowledgement is like water to dry soil. It softens the rigidity of walls without force, creating fertile ground for trust and emotional closeness to grow. At the same time, being present is not about waiting silently in the background. Presence is active, grounded, and intentional. It means consistently showing up in small ways, through gestures of support, kind words, or acts of care that do not demand reciprocation. It is being attuned to their emotional state, offering comfort when appropriate, celebrating their victories, and standing as a steady, reliable figure in their life. Presence reassures them that while they are free to retreat, they are never abandoned and they are never alone. The power of this combination, respect for space and unwavering presence, lies in its subtlety. It's not pressure or provoke, it simply exists as a steady, compassionate force. Over time, the avoidant person begins to notice that their walls are no longer necessary for survival. They start to feel that closeness can coexist with freedom, that intimacy does not have to be frightening. They recognize that your presence is not a trap, but a choice, a conscious, consistent choice to stay alongside them no matter how cautious they may be. This principle requires patience and emotional discipline. It may feel slow, and there may be moments of frustration or doubt, but the results are profound. Respecting space while being present plants seeds of trust that grow quietly, invisibly, yet powerfully. It shifts the dynamic from fear and avoidance to curiosity, openness, and the possibility of authentic connection, creating an environment where their heart can begin to soften, brick by brick, moment by moment. Deep listening is not just hearing words, it is entering the world of another person with complete attention, presence, and empathy. For someone with avoidant tendencies, emotional intimacy often feels dangerous because they fear being misunderstood, judged, or controlled. They have learned that sharing themselves can lead to disappointment, criticism, or rejection. Their walls are a shield, a necessary barrier against a world that has felt unpredictable or unsafe. When you practice deep listening without judgment, you offer a rare and transformative experience. You create a space where their voice matters, where their feelings are valid, and where their heart does not have to defend itself. Listening without judgment requires a conscious suspension of your own assumptions, expectations, or desires. It means resisting the urge to fix, advise, or direct the conversation. Avoidant individuals are highly sensitive to pressure. Any sense that they are being evaluated or corrected triggers retreat. Instead, deep listening involves being fully present, allowing silence when needed, and letting them express themselves at their own pace. It is not passive. It is an active form of engagement that communicates respect, acceptance, and unconditional interest in who they truly are. When you listen deeply, you are doing more than hearing their words. You are acknowledging their emotional reality. Many avoidants have experienced invalidation, where their feelings were dismissed, minimized, or judged. By listening without judgment, you give them the rare gift of validation. You are saying in action and energy, I see you, I hear you, and it is okay to feel what you feel. This acknowledgement is profoundly disarming. It creates a sense of safety that slowly allows them to lower their defenses because they realize that opening up will not lead to harm or rejection. Deep listening also fosters connection through reflection and empathy. It is about feeling what they feel, not simply understanding intellectually. You mirror their emotions, not to solve them, but to affirm their experience. This subtle act demonstrates that you are fully present with them, not as a critic or problem solver, but as a companion on their journey. The more they feel understood, rather than pressured, the more they begin to associate closeness with safety rather than risk. Importantly, deep listening requires patience. Avoidant individuals may speak in fragments, retreat mid-conversat, eye on or test your reactions. Consistently remaining open, calm, and attentive, without judgment, gradually teaches them that emotional exposure does not have to be dangerous. Over time, they start to trust that sharing their inner world will not trigger rejection or criticism, that their heart can be seen and still remain intact. This practice, repeated over time, transforms the dynamic from guarded distance to mutual curiosity and openness. Walls that once seemed immovable begin to soften in the warmth of understanding. The simple act of truly listening without judgment is one of the most powerful catalysts for connection. It shows that love, care, and respect are not conditional. They are present, unwavering, and safe. And in this safe space, an avoidant heart begins to feel the possibility of trust, closeness, and ultimately genuine intimacy. Vulnerability is the bridge between two hearts, but for someone with avoidant tendencies, it can feel terrifying. They have often experienced rejection, emotional overwhelm, or inconsistency, and so their natural response is to protect themselves by keeping their feelings, thoughts, and desires at a distance. The idea of opening up can feel like stepping into a storm without a shelter. This is why the practice of vulnerability without pressure is so powerful. It demonstrates that closeness can exist without fear, that trust can grow without coercion, and that intimacy does not have to be a threat to their autonomy. Vulnerability without pressure begins with intention. It requires you to share your authentic self in a way that is honest, transparent, and grounded, but without expecting or demanding reciprocation. Avoidant individuals are highly attuned to emotional pressure. Even subtle cues of neediness or expectation can trigger their walls. By being vulnerable in a gentle, self-contained way, you provide a model of emotional courage, a demonstration that feelings can be expressed safely and that connection can be offered without manipulation or obligation. This is profoundly disarming because it reframes what intimacy looks like. It is not a trap. It is not a demand. It is an invitation. This kind of vulnerability also requires emotional discipline. It is not about overwhelming the avoidant person with confessions or dramatics, but about revealing your thoughts, struggles, dreams, or fears with authenticity and calm presence. When done consistently, it communicates trust and openness, showing them that emotional exposure is not inherently dangerous. They see that you can be honest, can experience depth, and yet remain stable, grounded, and secure. This demonstration gradually softens their defenses because it contrasts with the chaotic or judgmental experiences that may have shaped their avoidance. Another essential element is patience. Vulnerability without pressure is a long game. You cannot force them to mirror your openness immediately. Instead, your consistent example creates a space in which they feel safe exploring their own vulnerability at their own pace. Every time they witness your courage to be authentic without expectation, they internalize a new message. Intimacy does not have to be scary. They begin to see that connection can coexist with autonomy, and that sharing their inner world does not automatically mean losing control or being exposed to harm. Importantly, vulnerability without pressure also includes emotional containment. You share in a way that is balanced, neither overloading the avoidant person with your needs nor withdrawing completely. It is an invitation, not a demand. It models healthy emotional expression, showing that feelings can be communicated clearly and respectfully, without triggering the fight-or-flight response that fuels avoidance. Through this approach, barriers that seemed insurmountable begin to shift. Avoidant individuals start to recognize that closeness can be voluntary, safe, and reciprocal, but it does not have to be rushed. Your steady, intentional vulnerability demonstrates that love and connection are choices, not requirements, and that they can participate without fear. Over time, this creates a profound transformation. Walls that were once rigid begin to soften. Hearts that were once distant start to feel warmth. And the avoidant person begins to trust that emotional closeness can coexist with their independence. For someone with avoidant tendencies, even the smallest gestures of closeness can feel monumental. A text that says, "I'm thinking of you," a willingness to share a personal thought, or simply spending time together without retreating. These are victories that often go unnoticed by others. Avoidant individuals have been conditioned to downplay their needs and protect themselves, and because of this, they may discount or minimize their own efforts to connect. Celebrating these small steps is not just encouragement. It is a transformative practice that validates their courage, reinforces trust, and gradually dismantles the emotional walls they have built. Celebrating small steps begins with awareness. It requires noticing the subtle ways they open themselves up, even when those moments seem minor to the outside world. Perhaps they agreed to talk about feelings for a few minutes, or they responded honestly instead of shutting down. These moments, though small, represent bravery and willingness to engage in something that naturally triggers discomfort or fear. When you acknowledge these efforts, you send a powerful message. Their attempts to connect are seen, valued, and meaningful. This acknowledgement begins to rewrite their internal narrative, replacing the belief that closeness is risky with the understanding that it is safe and appreciated. It is essential that celebration is genuine and specific. Generic praise like "good job" or "thanks" may be overlooked or even dismissed. Instead, highlight exactly what they did and the impact it had. For example, saying, "I noticed you shared your feelings with me even though it's hard for you, and that means a lot," communicates recognition and appreciation in a way that resonates deeply. Specificity shows that you are truly paying attention, and that you value not just the outcome but the courage behind it. This attention reinforces trust, because avoidant individuals often doubt whether others truly see them for who they are. Celebrating small steps also shifts the focus from fear to growth. Avoidants often see closeness as a potential threat, or as something to be feared. By highlighting their progress and celebrating each step forward, you create a positive feedback loop. Connection becomes associated with reward, safety, and affirmation rather than danger. This subtle reinforcement encourages them to continue exploring emotional intimacy at their own pace, knowing that each effort will be met with acceptance rather than judgment. Patience is central to this practice. Progress may be slow, and setbacks are natural. An avoidant individual may take a step forward one day and retreat the next. By consistently recognizing and celebrating even the smallest movements toward connection, you provide stability, hope, and reassurance. Over time, these small, celebrated steps accumulate into profound transformation. Walls that once felt impenetrable begin to soften as trust and safety build gradually, one courageous act at a time. Ultimately, celebrating small steps of connection is a declaration: I see you, I value your efforts, I honor your journey toward closeness. It shifts the dynamic from frustration or impatience to appreciation, from pressure to encouragement. It reinforces the idea that intimacy is not a demand, but a shared experience that grows through recognition, patience, and care. And in this environment, the avoidant heart feels understood, safe, and willing to engage more deeply. opening a pathway to connection that once seemed impossible. So, here's the truth. Breaking through the walls of an avoidant heart is not about force, pressure, or rushing. It is about presence, patience, and authenticity. It is about showing up consistently, respecting space while being available, listening deeply without judgment, offering your own vulnerability without expectation, and celebrating every small step of connection. These are not just techniques, they are principles of love, trust, and human connection that honor the other person's journey, while inviting them to take the courageous step toward closeness. When you live these principles intentionally, you become the steady force that melts fearless for transformation, not just for them, but for yourself. You learn that the deepest connections are built on respect, understanding, and courageous care. Thank you for investing your time, your heart, and your attention in this journey of understanding and connection. Carry these principles with intention and watch how the hearts roll. As you begin to soften, open, and respond to the love and consistency you bring. Go forward with patience. Go forward with courage. And above all, go forward knowing that true connection is not forced. It is earned through presence, authenticity, and heart. Thank you. Stay inspired, stay compassionate, and goodbye for now.